So the next car I'm going to present to you from my little studio on the field is a 1950 Jaguar XK120 Roadster. Now, of all the Jaguars that I've ever owned, the 120 has a special place in my heart. It's a very different thing from the E-Type of the 1960s. This at a time of austerity, just 3 years after the Second World War. When it was introduced in 1948, the car was an absolute sensation. Famous film stars of the era like Clark Gable wanted one. It did a genuine 120 miles an hour down the Jaguar Strait in Belgium. It was a supercar at a time when most people, if they could have a car at all, had something very humble and probably fairly slow. So, what's special about this car? Well, I haven't even driven it yet, but I know what it's going to be like. That might sound like an outrageous statement, but you see, we've been around for almost 30 years, and this particular car comes from a customer of ours who's been with us since the mid-1990s, and I just know, before I even get in it, what this one's going to drive like. A very discerning Jaguar owner of many years, likes his cars, not to show, but to drive, and I'm looking forward to having a blast down the road in this one with you. Well, I couldn't talk about the Jaguar XK without mentioning one particular advertisement. As a young man in the 1980s, very much involved with Jaguar, a particular advert from a stocking manufacturer came on TV, which became the stuff of legend. Pretty Polly was the name, had an enormous effect on the sales of Jaguar and, of course, on the sale of Pretty Polly stockings.
Sheer Colour by Pretty Polly. So smooth, 9 out of 10 cats prefer them.
Well, the sun's quite low in the sky now, but I'm going to try and do my best to give you a quick walk round tour of the car. It's a very, very good, solid example. It's not highly priced like some of the ones that we get, which are absolute perfection in terms of paintwork. This is a great user. There are a few minor paint chips and imperfections, but bearing in mind it's not a recent restoration. There's a chip on the wing. There's one or two here that have been you can probably see that have been touched in. The overall impression is really good. You can see how bright the silvering is of the backs of the headlamps. I love the fact that it's still on its original, it's still on an original number plate, not its original one, but I like the fact that it's not one of these DVLA age-related plates. There are one or two areas of cracking. There's a scratch on the wing here which I'm trying to show you, and there are one or two minor areas of cracking on the wing. It's literally a feature of the way that these cars were restored, particularly in the 80s and 90s, that you would have this high build primer used, and eventually you get a sort of shrinkage effect. But it's minor. I mean, the car presents very well indeed. Interior trim is lovely. The worst thing on paintwork is actually under the area which is normally covered by the tonneau cover. For some reason there's some fine scratching here which you don't see when the tonneau's on or when the hood is on, but I think my son, the company CEO, would say, well, Dad, that's why we've got Molten Coachworks. We have our own body shop, so if anybody wanted to buy this car and have a few bits of detail done, of course we can do it. Now, you might not be able to read that, but it's the little plaque that describes it going down the Jaguar Strait. It's very good indeed in the engine bay. The enamelling's particularly good on the exhaust manifolds. An hour or two by our cleaning team with the Solvol Auto Sol polishing up this engine, and it'll come up a treat. There's a stainless steel, I think it is, yes, stainless steel header tank for the water. We can put on the other side. Anyway, let's go and have a drive. So let's take this lovely Jaguar for a spin. This model has a straight cut first gear. Now you notice there's no chatter there, which is an indication of a really good gearbox. When they're worn, they chatter. Absolutely beautiful. Well, this is what it's all about. This is what classic car motoring will be like once again after the lockdown. It's an absolute pleasure. As with all Moss gearboxes, you can beat the synchros if you're a bit quick, but if you're forgiving and you respect the fact that it's a 1940s style gearbox, it's a lovely thing to drive. What a machine, absolutely fabulous. And that is what Jaguar XK motoring is all about.